Hi, my name is Chris McAllister. Welcome to the Sight Shift Podcast. If you've ever found yourself in that tense place of leadership where big goals collide with deep conviction, there's an old word for that. It's called wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, you're in a beautiful place because that's where you can find ancient wisdom. For ambitious, faith-driven leaders, I want you to know there's a way forward and you're not a bad leader to be where you are. We're going to help you in this podcast take all of those moments and use them to make culture your edge in your team, in your organization, in your family.
Everybody, thank you for being here on the Sight Shift Podcast. And we're having fun with this series right now as I'm introducing you to people that I find interesting that have been through at some level of the work we do with companies, whether it's the big stuff that we work with them for years or the coaching and anything in between. And with that being said, official name, Matthews Bark, welcome to the podcast today. So glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about you and your work and what you do in the world.
Well, Chris, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I was a bit surprised you asked me to be on, being that we are a smaller firm, and I know you have much bigger clients, but you've always treated us as your biggest client. So I appreciate that.
Oh, it means a ton.
Um, so, of course, when you asked me to come on, I was thinking about everything I would say. And I remember some of it, what I thought about. And the first thing is I have a small law firm. I have one other lawyer that works for me. I have 4 administrative staff, paralegal, office manager, receptionist, and assistant. And one of those was added on after being coached by you. So there's been some growth, both in finances and in the need for more help and the confidence to bring that in. Um, I started as a prosecutor many years ago. Then I got recruited by a small law firm to go work for them. And then I went out on my own. And I had a partner. Well, I had a partner when I first started who had more experience than me, and that was a helpful guide. And on the way to, well, we split up after a year. We just were very different people.
Yeah.
A friend of mine had become a judge, and he had had his own practice for years, and he did criminal defense like I do. And his wife then was out of work. She couldn't be his assistant anymore or his office manager anymore because there's anti-nepotism rules. You can't have your wife work for you as a judge. And he suggested I hire his wife. Other people suggested I hire his wife. And the only person that was reluctant was his wife. So I had to show her how persuasive I could be. And she came to work with me. And so it was just the two of us to start. And being a criminal defense attorney, it's unique. It's a very unique position. Even in the law, it's got its own unique place in the law. Like we go to different courtrooms than everyone else. We go to different courthouses than everyone else. We spend time in jails. And you say that to some of my colleagues who are transactional lawyers or civil lawyers, and they're like, "You're crazy. That's like real law. What are you doing?" You know. And but and the reason I bring that up though is because building a business as a criminal defense attorney is its own animal. And so I didn't really come to you to build the business. I was on a ski trip with my friend Mike Nardello, who's been on your podcast. And maybe the best way to sum it up is Mike was skiing 40 miles and I was skiing 20 miles, and he was ready to go the next day for another 40, and I was done. I was dead. And I just felt beat down. And he said, "Why don't you call this guy Chris McAllister, talk with him, see he might be able to help." He's like, "I'm not pushing it, but just an idea." And the first thing I ever said to you is, or maybe not the first thing ever, but our first conversation, you asked me what I was looking to get out of being coached by you. And I think my words were, "I just want to get that feeling back." And the coaching has helped me get there. So anyway, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to
That's
continue or you want.
awesome. No, yeah, that's a great place. I'll just say this for those listening. This is why, and thank you. The encouraging thing about how we treated you, that means the world. We, we're fully present with who we're with because all the other stuff, how many ever zeros, yeah, it matters and there's pressure and whatever, but it's all still relative. Everyone that is seeking to do something and grow something and start something and make something happen is in that place where there's the challenge and the pressure and all of the swirl of the uncertainty. And the only people who don't know that are the critics that are on the outside, and they just are never going to get it. But why I wanted to do this with you is for two reasons. One, the thoughtfulness and interesting way you show up, and we'll get into that some deeply actually. And then the other piece of that is, yeah, I think that your experience in the world of professional work is super interesting and has a lot of application, I think, for lots of people. They may not know it. We're going to get into that. But yeah, a lot of people in our world are dealing in terms of liable, not liable. You're in the real world of guilty, not guilty, which is a different game entirely.
While you were talking about businesses and your kind of your
Mhm.
introduction,
Yeah.
um, I was thinking that when I talked to you about what getting that feeling back meant to me at the time we first talked about it,
Yeah.
it was nowhere near as deep as it is now.
Mm.
And I didn't realize, like, so I was in this, what I said to Mike, I feel stagnant. I feel like I don't know if I want to grow. I don't know
Mm.
if I don't want to grow. I don't
Mm.
know if I'm okay with where I'm at. And what I realized I was missing in that was this adrenaline.
Mm.
Um, and I know adrenaline's not necessarily the healthiest thing. Um, maybe the release of cortisol is the healthier way to look at it. But um, if there's a lawyer, or the biggest PI lawyer in the country is out of Central Florida. His name's John Morgan, and John says you either grow or you die.
Hmm.
And of course, that's up to the interpreter what growth is, and
Yeah.
well, dying's not, but growth is.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it was about bringing in more business, uh, learning how to have different relationships with my clients and my staff, learning. This is a big one that we're hopefully going to work on moving forward, which is trusting people to do the work. Um, we just my associate attorney who's going through the coaching with you now, he and I just had a good experience with that the other day. Um, and it's funny because like part of the feeling that I wanted to get back was when I didn't have my own business and I worked for someone else, all I did was try cases.
Mm.
And and man, I was a hell of a trial lawyer because that's all I had to focus on. There was no worry about bringing money in, nothing,
Hmm.
just trying cases. And I tried a lot of cases and I did a lot of work. And times were different then too. It's harder to get trial experience now than it was. Um, so giving that to someone else to do
Mm.
is hard too. I'm giving up that feeling. And really, just over the last week, I thought about it as, can I get that feeling from coaching
Mm.
an associate to get there himself?
Mm.
And we're working,
You're
we're working
working.
through that. We'll see
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
goes. But the other day we had a hearing set. I was like, all right, man, like I've been slammed. You do it. I'm gonna go with you. I'm just gonna sit there. I know nothing about the case, you know. And I get there and he's all set up and there's laptops and files everywhere and paper everywhere and he's great. He's got this whole outline for me. I'm reading the outline and I'm like, so did you do this? Did you do this? Like the whole preliminary. Holy shit, I'm letting this guy do this. And then the trooper walks in and he's like, hey man, I know you, not me, but Ethan. He's like, hey man, you were a traffic court hearing officer. How's it going, man? I'm just sitting there reading the outline, looking over like, how come this guy doesn't know me? Like I'm the big guy here. What's going on? And and then he got it all worked out, got the guy a great deal, and he didn't even have to do the hearing. Um, I I did. I said one thing that may have tipped the um, the scales here,
Mm-hmm.
which was I said, hey, why don't you ask him for a deal? That's all I did,
Yeah.
and uh, and he did, and
Yeah.
it worked out. Um, so my question for myself is, if I wasn't there and I didn't do that, give him that one sentence,
Yeah.
do we get the same result?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Um,
not. And I think that's the challenge of leadership is that a better result will happen. Not only the same result, but a better result when I'm not in the room. Now, the equivalency for me is like speaking. Speaking is a place of adrenaline. It's a place of flow for me, and I love it muchly. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like really enjoying the adrenaline and cultivating the state and building around it. I think if you need it to feel whole, that's where the junkie side starts to grow and develop in you, and then you're limited. So I get adrenaline speaking, but I also help people speak, right? I get adrenaline putting a book out, but now between the next like month, it's two other people putting books out where I'm doing the afterward and forward. And so it's the idea of leadership, which is not can I do it, but can I train someone else to do it? And I think you can get meaning from doing what you're doing, like framing it that way. And of course, when I'm speaking, it has the same level of stakes involved as you, whether people go to jail or not. I'm kidding. So I can only imagine for you, like part of that new relationship to the future, training them to do it when you're in the room, training them to do it when you're not in the room. Do you think though, and truly I want to know what your take on this is, do you think that like it's a bad thing if you still want some of the adrenaline of your own experience being in the courtroom?
um, no, I mean, I didn't bring Ethan on to stop doing the fun part of the practice of law, which is the litigation,
Yeah.
but to give myself more time with my family and other obligations that the business creates.
Yeah.
Like I'm the guy who's got to work with the accountant and the marketing and maybe that can all change. And saying it out loud, I'm like, maybe someone else can do it. But right now, that's where
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah.
So no, I never, I, look, everybody I'm sure has a thought about retiring one day.
Sure.
But my number one thought about retirement is that I don't ever want to retire.
Yeah.
I want to set up something where I'm not as stressed, where I can pick and choose the cases I work on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, so um, yeah, so I don't want to give that up, but I do want I want to be able to like tag someone in
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
if I got another obligation or something I got to take care of.
Yeah. Yeah. I dig it. That's great.
Um, that and I was, the other thing though about having, like you were saying about people going to jail or not, like when I speak,
Yeah.
which is a big deal, or prison, whatever. But if you think about it like a surgeon,
Yeah.
if you hire a doctor to do a complicated operation, and then you learn after the fact he had his associate do it, oh my goodness, you might lose your mind,
Yeah.
right? And
It's a great point.
um, if something went wrong, and we
Yeah.
got bigger problems, bigger disappointment, maybe some significant liability. Um, and I didn't really think about that until I brought someone on, and I probably until speaking with you. Um, of the layers of what that means. So that means that when meeting with clients, when they hire us, to make sure they know Ethan might be there, not me,
Mm-hmm.
and to have the conversation um, we're going to choose who's ever best for that day. So, for instance, Ethan's younger. Some of the prosecutors in the county court, the misdemeanors, they're younger. They went to law school together. They know each other.
Mm.
I hear things like that's my buddy, or we have traffic, like criminal traffic stuff like DUIs, and Ethan was already a traffic court hearing officer, so he knows a lot of these officers. So I think having that conversation, learning to have that conversation with the client at the initiation is valuable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is like the thing that I'm always hoping to do with this series is introduce people to unique, thoughtful work experience and the way their brain approaches things. And I think you have both of those, and we're going to get into the brain part in a minute. But yeah, people listening to this, there's a universality also. How do I, as CEO, get out of operations or get out of sales or get out of as they're scaling up the organization, whatever it is they're having to do. And that is the necessary function of leadership that it's so hard, but your example makes it really challenging. And there is a transfer to business I've seen many times. It's like, well, I've been able to build past this moment for the most part now, but it still comes up occasionally like, well, we want Chris in the room, which is an honor. Like, I love it. I want to be there. And at the same time, you can't be in 17 places at once. But for you, if I distilled it down into this feeling, just because I think this is so big for so many people, when the stakes are high and we got to knock it out of the park and we're doing it in service to humanity. So there's an altruism there, there's an impact there. There's also a brain state, there's an emotional component. That's kind of that spot for you that like pressure's on, somebody's life hangs here. I need to be at my best. It's very activating. Is that a good way of kind of describing that feeling?
Yeah. Uh, I think I told you this last week when we were talking. I was talking to a friend of mine who is a singer. He's a great singer.
Yeah.
And um, he didn't, he basically quit singing for years, 20, 30 years. And then he just went back and now he's the lead singer of a band and they're playing in bars. And I asked, I was talking to him and I mentioned I miss the right brain activation in my life. I went to art school for a couple of semesters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really appreciate that side of my brain. And that can absolutely come into play as a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
But when talking to him, I asked him, I was like, when I haven't drawn in a long time, and I love drawing. But the reason I haven't is because I've got to give it so much attention, and it just takes full 100% focus, and I don't have the time and space for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I've turned to photography because it's a little faster to get the picture out than a drawing, and I can be more present with my family while doing it, and I love it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great. But I can't be fully engrossed like I feel is required of me to draw. And so I bring that up because when I said earlier, all I did was try cases. I was in that zone. I was in that flow,
Yeah.
and that was pre-children, pre-wife. That was just the glory days of litigation,
Yeah.
where that's all. And I was not in the healthiest place under that frame of mind. But
Sure.
man, there's a part of that feeling that I would like to have with me at every moment,
Yeah.
where I can have that. I know everything about the case, the person, the people, the law, how it's going to interplay. Like I could see what's coming before it comes, so I can knew how to respond to it quickly. Um, I learned that you got to be careful because if you're so prepared as a trial lawyer that you're not present in the trial, listening to the witnesses, focusing
Mm-hmm.
on the jury's reaction to things, you're
Mm-hmm.
just going off your outline,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're not in the moment. And you then ask a question that has nothing to do with what the witness just said. Um, and so all of that gives me that feeling of I guess accomplishment, pride. Um,
Yeah. If I don't want to suggest what it is, I think it's also just what you said earlier. The right brain is getting to breathe and live in it.
yeah,
So this is actually like another reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because you've got this unique work experience, but you've got this unique mind you're bringing to it. So here's what stands out to me, because you think about like this happens all the time. We're working with someone in an organization who is like a very left brain person, the chief data officer or whatever. And the favorite part of their week is playing in their band on the weekend because their left brain is getting so much time and attention and energy. The right brain is more starved. Now, I didn't use CFO in that example because oftentimes CFO are very right brain. They're having to be creative with how they think about the future and building modeling and that kind of thing. Um, and so what struck me from the beginning with you was um, and of course, you've been through the coaching, so you know when we talk in session 6 about how we're trying to get the right brain 3 seconds ahead of the left brain. So the architecture of the mind, it's not a diminishment of this left brain, but there's a receptive state the mind is in, which is the fluid, flow state. It's why AI can support but not originate, because AI recognizes the pattern. Humanskind's best intelligence breaks the pattern. Um, and so what struck me from the beginning was when you were doing the exercises and you would write them out, the experience I had reading. Like that was something that stood out to me, unique. I was like, whoa, I want to read this. It's capturing my attention in a way that I can't just scan it for what's the quick thing that I need to have a grasp of before we go into this session. And that to me is a part of your uniqueness. And so I hear it in the drawing, I hear it in the photography, and this is like uncharted territory for us to go into right now. So the answers might have to be vague or messy or at the edge of our consciousness. But what have you done to kind of keep that right brain fed throughout, building the firm and having to use so much of your left brain in the development of the office and all those kind of things?
Well, I love just listening to you, and you definitely make me like my brain is just going as you talk. Um, and I want to have a meaningful life.
Mm,
And so when I write, I want it to be meaningful.
mm.
So I think that comes across as of having that fulfillment, whether it's positive or negative. I'm present for it. I'm there for it, and I want it to be meaningful. And it made me think of a book by Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
Um, and I really had never put those two together till just now. There's like how I am and what he was saying about that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the biggest thing for me, well, I would say a couple of things. One, I met a group of friends who were very similar to me, and I don't know a lot of people who are that similar to me.
Mm,
And here's what I mean by that. Like I collect art. It's even weird for me to like say out loud because I don't think of myself as like an art collector, but I
mhm,
think I'm getting there probably.
mhm.
And so it's owning that quirkiness and originality and just sense of self and seeking out this. I like I need more than a computer at my desk. I need a bonsai tree that then
Mm.
leads me down the limb to the piece of art, um, that I think helps keep the right brain activated.
Right on. This is lighting me up. I want to give you something to respond to before I do. Just powerful. Uh, you don't care for your bonsai tree though, right? You've got that delegated and outsourced out because doesn't it require tons of attention?
That's a really sad topic right now because one of the bonsai trees that I purchased. So no, I don't have anyone taking care of them, and I almost don't have any alive anymore. But
That's my problem.
I'll get to that in a second because I had one that when I bought it was 35 years old, and I've had it for 12 years,
Wow.
and I've kept it living for that period of time,
Yeah.
and it's on its last legs, and
Yeah.
it's still in the centerpiece of the office,
Yeah.
and I really need to do something about this. This is like I,
Who,
I I'm going to
who
take
has
him to the
time?
bonsai doctor and everything, and
Yeah.
see if we can save him. But we might need a new one. But there is something very cathartic and probably right brain activated to taking care of the bonsai.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean,
and with it being in the middle of the office, it's by these big windows. Um, you know, just trimming the bonsai sometimes is like this break in the whatever the stress is at the moment,
Yeah.
whatever someone else's panic is at the moment.
Yeah. Some of my most inspired moments that have delivered the most business value, measured just by impact, it's staring at a tree. It's staring at a tree and something emerges. So here's what I think is what stood out unique to me with you in the process is um, you look for meaning. Maybe if we came back to that as a theme, it's like there are people who are content to numb out for a long time. I don't think they're content to numb out forever, but content to numb out for a long time or make the trade-offs that they do. And they almost lack an audacity to demand more of the moment and say, you will give me meaning. And and you saying to Mike when y'all were skiing, I'm stuck and I'm stagnant. It's like that in itself is a growth step and it's awesome and open and honest because so many people blaze right through that moment. And it's funny that you mention Man's Search for Meaning because that like perfectly unlocks in my mind, I think what people could take from your story. It's that, don't settle. Don't settle for that. Maslow's hierarchy, the pyramid, um, that people don't really need purpose unless they have food and shelter first. That has been debunked. Of course it's been debunked. He never had a pyramid. That was added later. And he even later on was like, you know, this is being misunderstood. Because here's what I've found. Purpose and meaning get me to the point that I can earn the food and safety and shelter. I can innovate, I can create, I can be persistent, I can persevere. I can walk on the water, I can transcend the circumstance. And that to me is what I hope people can draw from some of your story, because isn't that what you're doing for your clients? The world's against them. There's a million points of reason for why this is going to fail. And then we got to
Well,
show.
and I think I'm so glad we're doing this because I think you just articulated what I meant by getting that feeling back, which I definitely am a capitalist and became a lawyer to make money.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. But I
Sure.
also did it to be impactful in other people's lives and to make a difference in the world. Look, people think of criminal defense, and everybody thinks of like the most awful things that someone could do, and they need to go to prison or capital punishment. But the majority of the people who are in the criminal justice system are people who have made one mistake in their lives that could ruin their whole life.
Mm.
And their trajectory can go completely different directions based on the person they hire, the results of their case, and the other impact that you can have on them.
Yeah.
I had a kid who was 16 and was failing out of high school and got in trouble for spray painting the walls. And he just kept getting them. Like, so they don't get to me till he's got like 3 of these charges.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I had him. So I was working at the law firm then, and we were like in a plantation style office looking over the lake with the view of the city behind it, had French doors with a balcony and the ivy hung over. And I said, here, let's switch chairs. I said, I want you to have this view, the view I have of looking out from the lawyer chair. And he sat there and I said, this can be your chair. You just got to get yourself together. Your mom's here. You've got the support. You can do this. And if I'm not saying you have to be a lawyer, but I think you could be. And I get the chills telling the story because that kid, fast forward, is now working for that gentleman, John Morgan, I mentioned earlier, and is one of his best trial lawyers. I don't know if he's one of the best, but he works with a group and they win a lot of big verdicts. He probably makes more money than I do now. And he's always come back to me in some way over the years, whether it's sending someone else to me or putting a nice comment up on reviews or something. He's just I'm a part of his life. I'm an important part of his life.
Man. And so here is a powerful illustration of this. Like you followed that right brain inspiration. Hey, switch chairs with me and look at what comes out of that moment.
And for you're saying like to get that feeling back. So life happens and you start making more and more money, but then you have children and a wife and other interests. Because there was a time where I was just very narrow, wasn't spending money, was just focused on getting to where I'm going. And then I think that part of me of wanting to be an impact never left, but wasn't as clear or wasn't in operation.
Yeah.
It was stagnant.
Yeah. Yeah. In the midst of our marriage and parenting and leading businesses, um, taking care of people, making sure paychecks cash, may we keep the spark of meaning and vision alive.
Yeah,
Um,
and I hope that didn't come off as a negative, being
no,
married and have children.
no, it didn't. It's
Uh,
it's a reality that you have to not lose your soul in that, but grow it.
and it's right, and it's such a gift because it does make me look at things
Totally.
differently. That
Totally.
and it makes me. I wouldn't know you without that because
Exactly.
I was. It forced me to change the way I operate.
Yes. Yeah. No, I didn't take it negative at all. It's like men, especially, I think we discover more of who we are in the presence of commitment, and to be able to keep the spark in the commitments is, and Mike and I have actually joked about this before, like without families, live in a trailer in the woods and read and, trip out or whatever. I mean, just, it is the
Well,
commitment.
it's funny you say that because Mike and I are travel buddies, and we go with our families. We go on ski
Yeah.
trips and stuff, and we're like, hey, honey, how's this place? And they're like, oh, whatever you want. And Mike's like, nah, man, Matt and I can live in a tent,
Yes, exactly.
right? Like we're fine. Like it's gotta be okay with you, okay? Like, yeah.
It's so true. And I think this is the plague of, especially modern existence. There's a million ways to trade off the meaning, numb out, lose your soul. And sure, you got a lot coming at you. I have 3 kids in college now and have been married 25 years, and those are new frontiers I've never been to. They demand more of me. They ask me to sacrifice my insecurities even more, which deepens my capacity for meaning. Like my world is dripping with meaning. And that's what we hope people take away from today, I think. If I've got a few rapid fire questions I want to ask for fun. Before we ask those, just 2 self-referential questions to Sight Shift for those that are listening that might be helped. Um, what for you was the like impetus to say, hey, I want my main guy, my attorney I depend on to go through the coaching also? What was the catalyst for that, or how would you express what you wanted to see in making that investment?
So I love the work we did together. Um, and you and I talked about different options of how to engage your services further. One option was to have you just come in and do a few hours with the whole office and kind of just get a feel for the whole office. And the other option was to bring you on as coaching Ethan one on one, doing the same thing we did. And Mike's the centerpiece here because he introduced me to you as well. I guess we can call him the link.
Yeah.
And I asked him what he thought, and he said, "Hey, if Ethan's your guy, just do the one on one." He said he thinks people get more out of that. He thinks he got more, like his organization got more of you doing one on one with people. He felt, at least that's what he expressed to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was a part of why I decided to do that. Um, and it's like yeah, we've got to either grow or die, and we've got to change or perish. Um, but the vision isn't a stable one. Maybe it is for some people, but for me, it's still in that. Where are we going to go from here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the places I want to go is I want Ethan to be strong. We've already got a setup where he's going to come in as a partner, and I need him to have the tools to be a strong partner. And
Mm-hmm.
he's a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's 29. Um, so So yeah, I'm just older and I've been doing this and I have experience, but I thought introducing him to you and the coaching is going to be a big help to him
Yeah.
in growing. And then what I've learned, because actually you and I spoke Friday, and some of the things she said to me made me think about some things that were going on with us and him. And so we had a coffee meeting Sunday morning.
Mm.
Um, and I told him about our conversation. And I said, hey, I've got an assignment for you. I want you to make a list of what you think is going to make you the best lawyer.
Mm.
And I started the conversation with this. I said, Ethan, being a lawyer is hard.
Mm.
Being a lawyer and an entrepreneur at the same time is 10 times as hard. It's
Yeah.
infinitely harder.
Yeah.
So you got to think about where your skills are, what your assets are, and where you want to improve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, I want you to teach me how to coach you. You tell me where you need to improve, and I'll help you get there. So he's got a meeting with you Friday, and I asked him yesterday. I said, when are you going? Monday, maybe. I don't know. I asked him, and I said, when are you going to have that list for me? And he says tomorrow. And I said, why don't you review it with Chris first,
Mm.
and then I'll take a look at it.
Right on. I love it. That's awesome. The the thing that I love is just how relational things can be because, I told Mike, I'll take care of your friends and didn't coach, his number two. His number two went through with one of our coaches and had a phenomenal experience. And so for sure can't coach everybody, but what an honor to be connected to you and then Ethan and see the story unfolding. What would you say to people that are listening to this and they're like on the fence? They're like, I don't know. Can it really make a big difference to get in there and do this work? It doesn't have to be long. Just what's a quick shot you would take to help them say, yeah, I need to move forward.
Well, I'm sure everyone's got a different perception of their goal in hiring you in Site Shift. Um, for me at the time, it was I want to get that feeling back, and then I heard the price, and I was like, woof. And people are like, well, you're going to get that back in tenfold, and blah blah blah. But I wasn't even coming about the money.
Yeah.
I was coming about getting the feeling back, which so I would say this. Our revenue, our net has increased quite a lot. The ROI is, let me see, it's
Yeah.
pretty big.
What would you say the percentage is? Let's do it that way.
Let's see. So if we say you're 10 to 15, is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and net income's already increased by 200,000. So what's that percentage
Yeah.
from?
10x more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So that's
right on.
pretty good.
That's what we try to promise. That's awesome. All right.
And then what
So
happens with you is you do that to me where I'm making more money, but then I need to do more because I need to figure out how we're going to deal with all this work that's coming.
mo money, mo problems.
Right. That's right. And so, I bring up the finances because that's probably what a lot of your clients are looking at is the bottom line.
Sure.
But there's so much more to it, and it's that, like you said, that depth of meaning and it being impactful and it being work being enriching more
Mm,
than just I gotta provide or
yeah.
show up.
Right on. That's so encouraging. Okay. Thank you. Honored by that. Super fun to ask you a few rapid fire questions right now. Number one, what's something you like about being you? I know it's hard.
I like who I am. I mean, like
Yeah.
um,
What's a trait you like about being you?
a
A
trait.
strength or a feature or anything?
I'm gonna go. First thing that comes to mind is I like being a dad.
Mm,
Um,
yeah, man.
I know these are rapid fire, but we just went and saw my aunt in Baltimore. I haven't seen her in a long time, and my cousins. And I don't talk to my dad, and it's his sister.
Yeah.
And my aunt called my mom and said, "Matt's a really great dad. I don't think he grew up like this." And I was, man, just like I get teary eyed just telling you that.
Thank you. Meaning. Meaning.
Yep.
It's awesome. All right. Second, and this is just me getting into the brains of the people that I am intrigued by. What would be your favorite way as a metaphor right now, or a meme that you think's really funny to describe the world in its current moment? And it's relative to your world or Florida or the country, whatever.
Yeah, I would look at the scales of justice, and I would put one scale like underneath in hell and one scale up in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
One
Man.
side of the scale.
Yeah. Yeah. These are the times we live in. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
They're very extreme.
Yeah. What are your favorite moments of community where life just feels so rich and beautiful and you just feel so grateful?
I love getting together with my friends and their kids and our kids and just, food, music, pool, water park, skiing.
Yeah,
Like, that's the best.
that's awesome. Right on. And
That and Baltimore Ravens football.
of course.
Yeah, that's a huge deal
Um,
in my world, in my being. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. In my world, it's definitely in this part of the country, the Buckeyes, and Saturday will be a big one. Um,
Yeah.
So, for those listening, we walk through in the coaching identity, mission, community, and those were those questions. What do you like about being you? What's a way that you make sense of the world right now in terms of how you show up? And then what's community as a signal for beauty for you? So, Matt, thank you just to, in the midst of a busy day, hang out with me, have this conversation, means the world. Any last words before we go?
No, thank you. This is the best. I mean, after going into court, um, you can't see everything I'm wearing, but I'm wearing a seersucker today, and partly because it's the end of summer, partly because I'm so busy, I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But I have more cases than anyone in the. So today was like a cattle call of lawyers,
Yeah.
and I've got 20 cases on one in front of one judge, and I've got 6 in front of another. And so I've got all these lawyers looking at me, being like, "What the hell's this guy doing? How's he bringing in so many clients? This is going to take forever. I'm never going to get out of here." And I'm on stage at this point because those are my contemporaries,
Yeah.
and I got a judge. I don't even have any clients there, but you never know who's watching. And I'm in the flow. I'm making jokes. I got people giving me standing ovations, really out of like out of spite, not out like
Yeah.
in a dark comical way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I've got to go on away lunch for a prosecutor, and then I got to go back to court on a few cases. So this is a very welcome break and departure from my everyday reality.
It sounds like it. Well, man, interesting person, interesting life, interesting mind. You brought it today. Thank you. For those listening, hope you're encouraged by Matt's story to never settle for less than a life that is full of meaning. Peace out, everybody.
Thanks so much for being with us on the Sight Shift podcast. I hope in some way we've encouraged you to face, lean into, and become aware of the moments that represent so much transformation possibility. If you want more, you can always go to SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com, and learn to make culture your edge.